I love to solve problems, which isn't a problem because I run a company which exclusively solves problems.
Of all the things you've done, why do you love problem solving?
I think some kids know that when they grow up, they want to be footballers or doctors or actors or astronauts. I mean, I thought I wanted to be a doctor and a violinist. I just didn't have a kind of childhood where that was clear. I am a polymath, so pretty much whatever I turned my hand to, I could have done. Well, except drawing and painting. It was only later in life that I realised my true vocation, and I love solving problems.
Problems seem really personal to you, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think as with all things in life, when you're exposed to things repeatedly, you work out how to deal with them in a way that takes less from you than it would for someone else. And I've had a lifetime of conundrums and challenges that I've had to work my way through. And if I didn't do that for myself, no one else would do it for me. It's something I take great joy and delight in. And I would say that problem solving is my superpower. And I want to use it to make the world a better place. And that's why I've started BCL.
Tell me about you.
I suppose I nowadays would introduce myself as a writer and a founder CEO, but most people know me as a lawyer. I was called to the bar in 2011. I worked as a legal assistant for a commercial hotel chain and for a commercial food group. And then I went to Freshfields. I did my training contract, qualified as a solicitor, and advised on mergers and acquisitions at a US law firm. And I continued in corporate law in-house and successfully advised on Trussell's exit to Better.com in 2021. And I think there were a lot of things that I experienced there about boardroom relationships, about working with people that went far outside of my scope as a lawyer. And so it's some of those things, some of those learnings that I wanted to capitalize on in terms of BCL's offering.
I mean, is it safe to say that when it comes to problems and problem solving, no sector has a greater requirement than mergers and acquisitions?
I think that's fair. There's nowhere that you see the debilitating effect of relationship breakdown or problems surfacing in a business than in M&A. All of the skeletons, I think, is what we affectionately refer to them as when you're trying to get a deal away. And there are lots of eccentricities there. I have a long list of memories where I've had to work through those things. But I think there's a huge amount of value if you can turn the tide in a business so that you can get those transactions away. But the thing is, if you don't find those skeletons and then you want to do a transaction, you can't get the transaction done. And so often the general counsel is both responsible for getting the transaction done and resolving the skeletons at the same time. And so sometimes you don't have enough capacity to be able to resolve the problems, even if you know that they're there. And even if you do have the capacity, perhaps you need a different skill set to come in and work with you to resolve that issue because you can't do it on your own.
Is it true to say that the BCL approach is much more about people than corporate culture change?
Yeah, I think that's right, because while you think that you're keeping the business out of trouble, ultimately it's the people, the stakeholders that are running the business that you're keeping out of trouble. I think anyone who's familiar with being an in-house lawyer doesn't need to be reminded of the challenges of running the business, of their role in the business. Hugely influential, helping the leadership team with business as usual, but you're also looking around corners. You're also responsible for being like the rudder, steering that business to keep people and the business out of trouble. And your responsibility is to navigate your way into calmer waters. Now, any problems that arise are obviously a challenge to that. So while you're trying to show leaders where they can and they can't go, you've got to empower as many of their decisions as you can in a way that protects the business for the long haul. And so one of the things that I was very adept at was dealing with problems before they became problems and being quite forceful over things that didn't necessarily need a near-term solution, but because I could see the ways in which they were going to explode in the future, prioritize them early so that you could turn the course of travel.
Do you think it'd be worth explaining what a problem is?
I would define a problem as a situation or a collection of circumstances that overwhelm you or cause you to feel anxiety, or in a business context, maybe go to profitability or to employee-related issues, they tend to have an air of an intellectual stumbling block because they're preventing some sort of progress. And I think it's something that leadership teams face a lot. And one of the reasons that problems arise in businesses is because there is an inconvenient reality, which is that leaders are overstretched. So their ability to address and resolve or even manage some of those problems is immediately called into question. Every second, every minute, every hour of every day, leaders are making decisions. And at night, leaders are reflecting on those decisions while preparing for more decisions that lie in wait tomorrow. And often it is easier to say that something will work itself out. It's easier to kick the can down the road than it is to say, no, actually, I'm going to take responsibility for this now, and I'm going to find somebody who can help me resolve this so that it doesn't become a bigger problem later.
Leadership has never been more challenging than in 2023, has it?
It's hard to say that with the pandemic in rear view, but I think that's right. I have a huge amount of empathy for leaders who face the gamut of problems in society and in the economy in 2023. But I do think that there is a way to differentiate between good and bad leaders. What differentiates a genuine leader from someone who finds themselves leading is that desire to face problems head on. I think one of the hallmarks of a good leader is recognizing that they don't have to have all of the answers, but they certainly do need to know the right questions. And BCL can help you find the questions and provide you with the answers, because BCL's in the business of selling fishing rods, not fish. I think it's fair to say that there are hundreds of companies that will offer you an off-the-shelf solution. They will give you fish. What BCL does is listen to your specific and unique challenges, and we want to devise a solution that empowers you to fish all day long. We want to give you agency. We want to give you the tools to do what we've done for you long after we're gone.
Do you think it'd be helpful to break down the different components of a problem, explain what a problem actually is?
I mean, I tend not to categorize problems into a range from severe to straightforward, because I don't think that that's necessarily helpful. But I do think it's helpful to separate variables from fixed realities. And in terms of fixed realities, I think before you can understand the problem, you need to understand the people connected to the problem. Organizations are ultimately the sum of their people. At BCL, we look at change on a more individual level. We savor the opportunity to work with individuals who are in the business, and we trust that their transformation will flow through the organization in a way that enables the business to thrive and flourish. If we are doing our job effectively, we will be improving your ability to conduct business as usual, one person at a time. And that change will be well-founded and ongoing. We will, to some extent, be future-proofing the business against similar problems arising. And I think that's what separates BCL from traditional management consultancy firms and from organizational change specialists. We build up from people and resolve your intractable problems in the process. I think it's an utterly different approach, and I hope it's one that reaps rich rewards.
How does BCL engage with leaders? How does that work?
We are motivated by equipping leaders with the insight to know themselves better and to communicate changes that need to flow through the organization to mitigate risk and to improve governance more effectively. We might do that through traditional methods like governance effectiveness reviews or doing investigation scoping work or performing investigations. But in that process, we want to ensure that we are working with leaders as people so that any shifts in leadership dynamics will have tangible benefits felt across the entire organization. BCL wants the people in your organization to relate to each other in a way that is more collaborative, more effective, more directional, and more constructive. And One thing I've learned, something that was very much a catalyst for the founding of BCL, is the centrality of communication in business. I've noticed that particularly in formal, institutional, hierarchical leadership teams, people do not listen to each other. Not only do they not listen to each other, what is coming out of their colleagues' mouths, they don't hear the sentiment behind what is being communicated. And this isn't just miscommunication, there is misunderstanding. So if you as a leader don't feel like you're being heard, how long is it going to take you to stop talking? And how much sooner are you going to stop listening?
This sounds like something you have a lot of first-hand experience of. It sounds very personal.
Early on in my career, I attended a lot of executive committee meetings in listed clients, in private companies and sovereign wealth funds. And I saw a unique opportunity to work with the participants of those meetings to ensure that I was capturing their sentiments in a way that wasn't misconstrued, ensuring that their input was not misrepresented. I think an amazing thing happens when people are heard and when people feel like they can talk. I've seen scales fall from eyes, new relationships emerge with a deeper connection and a sense of camaraderie, a sense of the task ahead, and trust can be restored. When that happens, everyone breathes a sigh of relief. And I was able to build deep relationships because people recognized that they could be the fullness of themselves with me. Many of these professional relationships I still have. And the trust at the heart of that process enabled me to be elevated within those organizations. And that gave me genuine agency to conduct some of the most technically difficult work I've done in my entire career. And it's off the back of that I founded BCL. Because in 2023 and beyond, we know what to do when things go wrong. There is very little that surprises us. We want to be here for you.